Central to the devotion of Our Lady of Fatima, as we all know, is the need to make reparation to her Immaculate Heart. The daily rosary, the 5 first Saturdays of the month, consecrating ourselves to our Mother. We know these practices so well, those of us who come regularly to the Day with Mary. And today I want to focus upon an apparition of Our Lady approved by the Church in its message, which happened 15 years ago after the Fatima apparitions. And this year we will celebrate the 80th anniversary at the end of November. Today we are thinking about the apparition of Our Lady in southwest Belgium in a town called Beauraing, in which she focused devotion to her Immaculate Heart. Beauraing is a small town in South Belgium, in the French-speaking part of the country, where Our Lady appeared between November 1932 and January 1933. At the time, it was a time of economic depression. It was a time of hardship for many of the people of that country. But as at Lourdes, Mary said very little. She came to appear to 5 Belgian school children: Fernand Voisin, André Desjambes, Gilbert Desjambes, Albert Voisin and Gilbert Voisin. All the children came from families who were not overly concerned at that time about the practice of their faith. They were, you might say, went to church somewhat infrequently, or certainly their faith was kind of lukewarm. But the children were going home from school. They first saw Our Lady on the railway bridge by the convent, where they had gone to collect their friend Gilbert, who had stayed on to study. And suddenly, as they rang the convent doorbell to collect their friend, one of them looked up to the railway bridge, which runs parallel to the convent wall. And he said, "Look, there is a woman dressed in white, her feet hidden by a little cloud." And the children looked and saw. But nothing else happened as Our Lady hovered above them. But over the next few evenings, a pattern grew up where the children would meet and see Our Lady at a hawthorn tree near the grotto of Our Lady of Lourdes, but always outside the railings, looking from outside through into the convent garden. But the children later told how they saw a beautiful lady holding her hands together in prayer, with rays of light surrounding her head. So from December the 2nd until January the 3rd, the messages came. And these are the words of Our Lady to the children. Always be good. And the second message, I would like a little chapel. The third one, will you come here on pilgrimage? The fourth one, pray, pray a lot. The fifth meeting, the children were told to pray always. On the sixth occasion, Our Lady made the promise, I will convert sinners. And then the children, when they asked her who she was, because by then the church authorities were beginning to wonder what on earth was going on there, she told them, I am the Mother of God, the Queen of Heaven, pray always. And finally, in January 1933, she said to them, do you love my son? "Do you love me? Then sacrifice yourself for me." So as we can see, there was not a huge amount of message from Our Lady, but what she did tell those 5 children is very important, but at the same time, very succinct. So what is the message of Our Lady's apparitions at Beauraing? The message comes loud and clear to us who hear it and who read it and who meditate upon it, that the maternal heart of our Blessed Mother Mary shows an anxious appeal for prayer and the promise of her powerful mediation for the conversion of sinners. But finally, one of the most important aspects of the apparitions. On the last day of 1932, all the children saw the heart of Mary in gold, reminding them and us of the power of devotion to her immaculate heart. Our Lady opened her arms, and when the children were questioned by the priest, "What does the Virgin Mary look like? What did she look like when you saw her?" And the children says, "Father, she has her hands open like you when you say Dominus vobiscum at Mass and you open your arms, your hands." But when Our Lady opened her hands, the children could see, surrounded by gold rays, this golden heart. The power of the devotion to the Immaculate Heart, the love that Mary's heart has for poor sinners. The message of Our Lady of Beauraing calls us to pray a lot. Pray a lot. Pray always, "I will convert sinners." Herein lies the key to understanding what she was telling us, echoing that of the Fatima message, reparation through prayer. Each night the children would gather to pray the rosary with her. And although the prayer of the rosary is not specifically mentioned in this series of apparitions, the children were seen always to have the rosary in their hands when they prayed and conversed with their Heavenly Mother during those months of November 1932 to January 1933. So we know that the rosary is the key and the chain to understanding Our Lady's message here in Beauraing, just as it is in Fatima. A family prayer, a prayer that draws us close to her Immaculate Heart. The Virgin Mary with the golden heart, a mother's heart, full of concern for her children, echoing the love that she has for each one of us, then and now and in the future. Today, the Shrine of Our Lady of Beauraing continues in its devotion and propagation of devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, and there have been 2 recognised miraculous healings since the cult was authorised in January 1943. So the Church will celebrate at the end of this year the 80th anniversary of these apparitions. And it reminds us that we too can invoke the Lady of the Golden Heart, whose message is one of love, concern and reparation. It came at a time of economic hardship. It came at a time when there was much unrest between the 2 world wars. So, just as then and as now, Our Lady can come to us in all means and at all times of hardship. A mother coming to her children to warn them and to encourage them to take refuge in her Immaculate Heart. The message of Beauraing certainly is a message for today.